from Accenture is going to talk a little bit about the sort of work they've been doing. Jill, where are you? I thought you're on next, yeah? Yeah.
As overwhelming as information and technology can be in this data-driven age, one thing is crystal clear. The geeks won. Mathematicians, statisticians, and econometricians are today's hottest business commodities. Harvard Business Review called data scientist the sexiest job of the 21st century. As you read this, information of all shapes and sizes is being mined, mapped, manipulated, and mastered. And as a result, fraud and security threats are being identified and addressed before they even happen. Google Analytics are currently installed on more than 10 million websites. In the 2012 US elections, using public statistical data, a polling guru predicted winners in all 50 states. More than ever before, retailers can anticipate what, when, and how consumers will buy. How will your company make the analytics journey to ROI, from business issues to game-changing outcomes? Studies show companies that apply big data and analytics to their operations show productivity and profitability 5 to 6% higher than those of their peers. How can advanced analytics, platforms, open source technologies, and strong alliance networks open up the insights of so much data? And who will do that heavy lifting? The data scientist must also be, or work with, an analytics artist, combining technique, talent, and new technologies to gain insights into business challenges, and help companies, like yours, transform insights into actions, increasing market share, enhancing cost and cash advantage, increasing customer loyalty, accelerating speed to insights, improving operational excellence, reducing risk and fraud, winning the war for talent. Accenture has the data scientists and analytics artists to help.
Hear that commercial. So I think what you're hearing today is a call to action from just about everybody who's been on the stage. We started with Elliot, who talked about the fact that data is really meaningless unless you actually spend some time analyzing it to derive insights and actions. We heard that throughout the last few sessions, including the one that JR just gave. And what I can tell you is I am so excited that the geeks have won. I mean, as a reformed accountant myself, I really never thought this day would come where the skill sets associated with some of this data mining, manipulation, and mastery are valued. Is there anyone else in the audience who would self-identify as a geek? Is there anybody else who get jazzed by this sort of stuff? Oh, come on. Be proud. Be proud. Well, I can tell you that one of the key takeaways from this video that I really hang my hat on is the fact that it's complicated. I mean, you just heard from Wharton School about the tools and the time and the effort and the knowledge that they had to invest to create those sort of insights that we just saw. It takes experts. Now, maybe those experts can and should be mathematicians and statisticians, but I think on practical terms, more pragmatic terms, they're just dedicated people within our organizations who like to do this sort of stuff and have no preconceived conceptions of what the data is going to tell them. And they help us to change that data into information and insights and action. So let me introduce myself. My name is Jill Goldstein, and within Accenture, I lead our talent and HR outsourcing practice. The practice includes over 90 clients, and we service them in over 130 countries. And our clients depend on us on a daily basis to understand their business and deliver business outcomes. So understanding data sources, both inside and outside of the company, is something that I need to and enjoy doing on a regular basis. Because similarly to a lot of your organizations out there, they're measuring success through quantifiable business outcomes. And there's a difference between showing a scorecard and measuring outcomes. So let me give you an example, because again, this is a call to action. We had been working with a client in Asia Pac for several years, and they were struggling because they were failing to meet the growth projections they had actually committed to the streets. And quarter after quarter, they were just frustrated. They didn't really understand what was really the primary obstacle to their business growth. They believed that probably one of the principles that was keeping them from driving the growth was the fact that they were a highly decentralized insurance company that had 600 locations across the country, and that many of the operations were local. So they asked us to come in and work with them to create a central shared service organization. Now, the reason I got involved was they ended up outsourcing some stuff to us, but quite frankly, this is equally relevant for an internal shared services organization. And they asked us if we would centralize the operation, and we did. And one of the first things we did through mobilization and transition is we sat down with them to create the scorecard. They had all the data available, pretty much exactly what we were talking about in Humana. The data was available. And at first, the client only wanted us to limit the scorecard to the SLAs. But after a little bit of coaching and prodding, we talked to them about the value of just a few key performance indicators. And we were very selective, ones that they felt like they understood and could defend. So on the scorecard, in addition to focus on operational efficiency and effectiveness, there were metrics like time to fill, new hire performance, and new hire retention, time to competency. And so after the second or third month reviewing the scorecard, they finally took some time to understand the measures on the key performance indicators. And it was like they had an aha moment right in front of us. They actually noticed that one of their key mission critical roles, their branch managers, had a time to fill of over 100 days. And when I say over 100, it wasn't 105, it was north of 100 days. And that their new hire turnover, their new hire retention for that role was over 75% in the first 6 months. So that meant that that key position was open for half of the year. How do you drive growth at a branch if the branch manager isn't there? Or if they are there, they're just getting to know their job before they go ahead and leave. So based on the scorecard, we went ahead and we did some analysis. Now, we did the regression analysis, we did some root cause analysis, and in addition to identifying bottlenecks in the processes and validating the good sources of talent, we actually came across some really unexpected findings that surprised actually both us and the client. One of the things we found was that the profile that we were recruiting against had a minimum qualification of a candidate to have an MBA with 1 to 2 years of practical work experience. And what we found when we did the analysis was that was actually a negative correlation to performance. But simply hiring a new grad, an MBA without any work experience, created a positive correlation to performance. So we simply adjusted the people we looked for. The other finding that was particularly surprising was that what we had assumed was the right profile was someone who had grown up and lived in the state which the branch manager role was going to be in, because they had spent their life there, they had built a network, and they would come to the role with established contacts that they could build on. But what we found was that once those people got through their virtual Rolodex of friends and family, they didn't know what to do. They had never been forced to create a professional network outside of the people they had grown up with. The more successful candidates were those who had moved around during their life and had been forced to and understood and were effective at creating those networks. And what we found was those people came to the role with a Rolodex of 30, 50, 100 contacts that the others didn't. So by purely changing the people we were looking for, by using the insights to change the way that we operated, over 9 months, The outcomes were astounding. We saw time to fill for this role reduced by 45 days. We found new hire attrition reduced by 50%. And one of the most powerful stats is we found new hire performance in the first 6 months increase by 400%. That under the old way, the new hires were only selling 1.5 policies during their first 6 months. And under the new profile, under the new performance of the new joiners, we were seeing that performance go up to 6 policies in the first 6 months. Now, the client was ecstatic, but you could see the growing frustration in their voice as you started to talk to them about it, because they knew they had the data all along. It was there. They just weren't using it. They hadn't dedicated effort, time, or even intent to understand, mine, manipulate, and master the data and turn it into, as Elliot said earlier today, wisdom. And one of the reasons was because they were just overwhelmed with the art of the possible. They had no idea where to start. And I think that's where a lot of us are today. If you take a look at the data in your systems, whether or not it be your HRIS, your ATS, your LMS, your payroll system, whatever the system is, when you think about the duplication of data, the contradictory nature of some of the data, it's really tough to figure out where to start. And the visual that's going to go out on the screen right now, dramatic pause, is a representation of the fact that not all data will drive value. So the importance of mining, manipulating, and mastering the data is a non-negotiable requirement, because most of the data out there is just noise. And it can be very frustrating if you start with data and then push up. And I think for our purposes, because we are business enablers, we should be business executives first, HR professionals second. I think somebody said that last night. It's really important for us to really start with the business, leverage our understanding of the business, and then figure out how to use the data to uncover workforce risks and opportunities. It's a very powerful tool. I know that many of us struggle on where to start. Using the data is the first step, I think, to making progress. So I would encourage you all to just think about one thing you can do differently. Just think about one business challenge and maybe a resource you can succumb to actually drive value and demonstrate improved business outcomes in this area. Because every client I talk to has it on their wish list, and I would say that less than a quarter of the clients that we work with actually do anything about it. So this is the way that we get our seat at the table, and it's not because we're asked, it's because we've earned it. So again, I just want to celebrate the fact that the geeks have won. I am proud to wear my visor and my pocket protector, and I encourage you all just to think about things differently, and this is a call to action, so thank you.